Good morning, good people, brothers, sisters, and beautifully divine siblings in the movement. Welcome to the unapologetic voice of labor, equity, and action. This is CWA, our Power Radio Show, where we amplify the organizers, uplift the everyday workers, and honor the giants whose shoulders we stand on right here on KYOKradio.com. If you're rolling through H-Town or just fired up anywhere in the world, stream us live at KYOKradio.org on the CWA Strong app or catch the replay anytime by searching CWA Hour of Power on your favorite podcast platform because this space, this time it's about us. That's right, it's about us. We're talking union contracts, organizing victories, labor rights, human dignity, fair pay, and bold everyday resistance to injustice in all its forms. So whether you're on the job, in your car, or at the kitchen table, or deep in the fight, lean in, honk your horns if you stand with workers, throw a fist up if you know your worth. Joining me today are the fire starters and the truth tellers, Micaiah Jones, Sir Reginald Small, Timmia Wiley, and David Marshall. So buckle up, beloveds, because the power we build together, that power is ours. Let's get into it. Our union voices are ringing in every district, from Alaska to Maine, Texas to Minnesota, Canada to Puerto Rico, because we don't play at CWA. The Communication Workers of America invite you to the 2026 National Human Rights Conference happening August 16th through 19th in Atlanta. Join union leaders and activists from across the country as we come together to build power, advance justice, and fight for workers' rights. This year's conference will be held at the beautiful Western Peachtree Plaza, located in the heart of downtown Atlanta. To register, go to CWAHumanRights.com. Again, go to CWAHumanRights.com. Don't miss this opportunity to connect, learn, and organize for a stronger, more just future. We'll see you in Atlanta. You're listening to KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you by visiting KYOKradio.org and pressing the Listen Live option. Tune in live every Thursday at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on KYOK Radio and the CWA Strong app or your preferred podcast player. Search for CWA Hour of Power on your favorite podcast player. Up next, guess what, guys? We're about to have the Marshall Minute with David Marshall. Good morning, David.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, family, and welcome everyone to the Marshall Minute. Today, I just want to talk about something simple, but it's something that's very, very powerful. What you think, you become. Now that may sound like a motivational quote at first, but it's deeper than that because the way we think shapes how we move through this world. Our thoughts, our influence, our actions, our confidence, our relationships, our leadership, and even how we fight for ourselves and others. As union leaders and activists, stewards, and community voices, we have to ask ourselves something honestly. And I'm going to ask the group here today, are we growing or are we trapped in survival mode?
Oh, I'm definitely in
Both.
survival mode. I'm fighting for my life over here daily.
Anybody else chime in?
I think it's a little of both, David.
Okay. Well, there's a difference. There's a growth mindset and then there's a fixed mindset. So a fixed mindset will say, this is how things are, or I'll never get ahead, or nothing's going to change. But a growth mindset, is I may not be there yet, but I'm growing, or I can learn, or I can evolve, or I can fight through this. Now, let me be clear. Positive thinking alone doesn't erase injustice. It doesn't erase racism. It doesn't erase poverty, discrimination, anti-worker policies, or even systems designed to discourage people. But your mindset determines whether those systems break your spirit or fuel your determination to keep fighting anyway. Because one thing oppressive systems love is for working people to believe they're powerless. Now, who on this panel doesn't disagree with that?
No, I don't think we any of us. Uh,
Right.
it, David, and I hate to jump in right here, but you said something just a few moments ago when you asked that question about the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. And sometimes I think, and if you don't mind me, butting in right here, I think sometimes we have both of them because sometimes we're comfortable at where we are in our careers, in our lives, in the things that are going on. And then it is something that catapults us or pushes us off of the edge and causes us to grasp, to fight, to tread the water, to swim the rough seas, and cause us to get to the next level. And I digress right there.
Well, no, you're totally right. And I would add to that your mindset, whether those systems break your spirit or fuel your determination to keep fighting, your mindset determines all that. Because one thing oppressive systems love is for working people to believe they are powerless. And if they can control your thinking, they can control your future. So that's why I want to ask the family today around this whole group here. I want to ask you something. In a world constantly telling working people, marginalized communities, and everyday people what they cannot do, how do we stop internalizing limitation and start believing in growth again? So I'm gonna go back to you, Errol, and start with you, sir.
All right. And David, what I think is one of the most important questions people can ask right now, because so many folks have been conditioned to survive instead of dream. I want to interject something right here as well. Um, I don't know about the team, but have you ever tried to love somebody who's always in survival mode? Or know somebody who lives in survival mode, and no matter what, when life gets to a particular way, you can be comfortable, but that person still operates in a survival mode. Am I talking good this morning?
Hey, you speaking truth, brother. Keep it up.
All right. And so a lot of people's mentality, they is of exhaustion before they even get started. Just think about how many people may have gotten laid off that listens to us, that they're dealing with rising costs of everything, attacks on voting rights, the gutting of the Voter Rights Act of 1965. We have individuals attacking the labor unions inside as well as outside. We have attacks on education. We have the ban on books. And so eventually people start shrinking their expectations for life and just say, you know what, enough is enough. Let them go on and fight. Let them do what they want to do. And then I'm just going to stay over here in my world and do the things that I want to do and not even be bothered, not even take up a pen, not even take up a paper, not even say anything. I'm just going to do what I want to do. And that's it. Come on, Reginald, because I see you got something.
Well, I mean, it just makes me think, Errol, all the things you mentioned. I mean, it's like it's one thing to be optimistic, it's one thing to have faith and hold on to hope. I like to say hope. I like to hold on to it, but there's so much going on that it feels like you can have your hope kicked out of you. That you
Mm.
try to be hopeful and you try to keep that optimistic energy going. And every day it's something else. But I do think that's strategic and that's deliberate. And you just gotta stay the course. I say this all the time. You gotta stay the course and keep going because there is gonna always be something, whether or not it's just in life, whether it's on the job, whether or not it's a particular administration that we think that we're under. I mean, there's
Mm.
always going to be something, and you just have to kind of structure yourself and keep your mindset in that spirit of just keep looking forward. Whatever
And,
situation you're in now, it's going to change. It will change.
Well, and what you're
yeah.
saying is very, very powerful. I mean, I don't think a lot of people realize how much, that internal dialogue affects them. We the things that we repeatedly tell ourselves become the lens that we see life through. If every challenge becomes I can't, or I'm stuck, or I'm defeated, eventually that becomes identity instead of just an emotion. And so that's
Because
why I was
because
saying,
David, because if you think you're defeated, you're already defeated.
yeah, you've already lost,
Yes.
and so eventually, that becomes the identity instead of just emotion. So, what if we started saying, I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm pushing through, and then we'll be, changing how we respond to that adversity. So I want to move to Timmia. I want to ask you this. How difficult is it for people to maintain a growth mindset when systems are intentionally designed to wear them down?
I'm glad you went to Timmia because I thought we was going to have another men show.
Listen, I'm awake. I'm awake. But honestly, David, it is very, very, very difficult because we have to stop pretending people are struggling just because they say they aren't positive enough. Some people are just tired. Working people are carrying stress from every direction, from low wages, which we know what that can snowball into, workplace pressures, discrimination, caregiving, inflation, fear, instability that can come with low wages. And
Hmm.
sometimes people are surviving environments that are actively attacking their confidence every single day. That is so true. When your confidence is actively being attacked every single day, it does bring your morale down. So I think growth mindset is important, but we also have to acknowledge the reality people are living in. Because when somebody is constantly told you're replaceable, you're too emotional, we don't need you anymore, you're not qualified, you don't belong, eventually people start believing those lies. That's why communication matters. That's why unions matter. That's why human rights work matters. Sometimes people need somebody else to remind them who they are, and until they can remember it themselves.
And to me, I'm glad you said that, because it connects directly to mental wellness, right? Because mental health isn't just about diagnosis, it's about like your environment. If you're constantly surrounded by negativity, hostility, fear, or chaos, like eventually your nervous system starts responding like danger and chaos is normal. And that impacts so many different things, like your relationships, mental health, motivation, like just a plethora of things. And one thing I appreciate about David's piece is that it encourages intentional thinking, right? Like not fake positivity, not pretending like, problems don't exist, not pretending like you're not going anything through anything, but asking yourself, what am I feeding my spirit every day, right? Because if all we consume are negative things and fear and hopelessness, like eventually that becomes our emotional reality and that becomes what we put out. And I think sometimes growth starts with small internal changes, like just giving yourself grace, believing that healing is possible and understanding that you deserve peace and that it is possible to obtain that.
So and I mean let's bring this down to everyday life for a moment. A lot of working people have been taught to play, defense their entire lives. Don't dream too big, don't take risks, don't challenge authority. So when somebody finally starts believing they deserve more, it almost feels uncomfortable at first. It doesn't feel natural. And I think unions help people rediscover confidence. At least I really like to think that that's one of the roles of union. You watch somebody go from "I'm scared to say anything" to "wait a minute, we deserve better than this." That's that kind of transformation is actually real transformation, and it starts mentally before it ever becomes an action.
And that's a great point, Reggie, because confidence changes behavior, and behavior changes outcome. And family, one thing I've learned is that growth doesn't happen by accident. It takes awareness, it takes discipline, and it takes intentionality. Sometimes growth means challenging negative voice in your own head. Sometimes growth means leaving survival mentality behind. Sometimes growth means understanding that failure is not final. So, Errol, let me ask you this. What happens when working people finally believe they deserve more?
Well, let me go back on something because you talked about change, and I think right there is a good place where I can say this little quote right here: "Change is inevitable, and growth is optional," because everything changes. Just think about how many individuals are have gotten those pink slips. They were comfortable in their jobs. And let's bring it closer to home because we have 5,000 union members that have been affected by Spirit closing down. And how many of them were comfortable in their jobs? They're making the monies that they need to make ends meet, and everything is just beautiful. And then all of a sudden, go land the plane at the nearest airport. So, those are things that we have to think about. So everything changes, and things can change at the drop of a dime. 2025, 300,000 plus individuals laid off through Doge. Then 500,000 men laid off this year alone, the first quarter of this year. So things are changing, and we're going to have to uh, uh, we're either going to sink or swim. That's what I'm trying to say right there. So I think that we have to get on this bus and we have to change. We have to guide this thing. We have to step up and step out. So and I know I went a little bit too far over in there, but everybody deserves dignity. Everybody deserves fairness. Everybody deserves opportunity. Everybody deserves health care. And let me say something right there, because I know you guys already know. I called the other day just to get an idea that if I had to get the Affordable Care insurance, do you know they told me $700 and some odd dollars a month for healthcare insurance? And I'm looking like, oh my God. So we everybody deserves living wages.
They do.
Changes are coming.
Let me just pause you right there, Errol. That's 775.
Mm-hmm.
How many dependents are you covering on that?
Oh, that's single.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the people knew that.
Yes, that's single. And it's ridiculous. And that's why we need individuals who are concerned about human rights. That's why we need individuals in positions that are concerned about communities, marginalized communities, all individuals, because human rights, labor rights, all of this is tied together. We need people, all of us need to just come together. We need fair representation. And I know we got to talk about this a little bit later before we get off the air. Hopefully we'll get to it. But this gutting of this Voting Rights Act of 1965, this better push folks up off of their apathy and get people into offices to where they are concerned about fellow mankind. And I'm gonna digress right there where David can go on with his piece.
You said something there, brother, and I'm gonna tell you, there are forces that are actively trying to convince people not to vote, not to organize, not to care. But there's one thing that is very, very powerful, and that is hope. Growth is powerful. Believing in yourself is powerful, and believing in each other, that's transformational. So today's conversation really comes down to this. The world will constantly try to define you by limitation, your failures, your fears, your setbacks, your struggles. But you do not have to become every negative thing this world tries to place on you. Yes, systems are real, oppression is real, struggle is real, but so is growth, so is healing, and so is resilience, and so is transformation. As union leaders, activists, stewards, parents, neighbors, and community voices, we must continue growing so we can better serve our members, our families, our communities, and most importantly, ourselves. Because what you repeatedly feed your mind eventually shapes your reality. So protect your spirit, protect your mindset, and protect your purpose, and never let a broken system convince you that growth is impossible. So until next time, family, this has been the Marshall Minute, and I'll send this back to you, Errol.
Well, all right. Thank you, David Marshall. That's David Marshall's theme song right there. So y'all better get ready for it. It's a lovely day in
It
spite
was
of
lovely.
everything.
It was either Lovely Day or the Shaft theme. It one of the two.
You're listening to KYOK 1140 AM at the all new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you by visiting kyokradio.org and pressing the listen live option. Tune in live every Thursday at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on kyokradio.org or the CWA Strong app or your preferred podcast player. Search for CWA Hour of Power on your favorite podcast player. Like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at CWA National Human Rights to stay connected. Share your thoughts and join the conversation. All right, guys, we're going to go just a little bit deeper off into the show. Today's conversation is going to hit just a little bit different. We are not starting with politics for real. Well, I guess I really shouldn't say that because we kind of have dealt with it just a little bit, but we also need to deal with policy. And this morning show, the first segment that we're really going to dig off into, we're going to start with a child named Parker. And Parker is living with severe autism spectrum disorder. And right now, his family is facing something no family, no family should ever have to face, trying to keep their child safe while being turned away by systems that are supposed to help. And uh, this Autism Awareness Month, we are lifting up Parker's story not just to raise awareness, but to call for compassion, community, and action. Because at the end of the day, this is about a child who just wants to be a child. Come on, Reginald.
So what Parker's family is experiencing is something many families quietly face. Families raising children with severe autism, especially nonverbal children, are often navigating systems that were never designed for them. When a child is in crisis, the expectation is real simple. You go to the hospital and you get help. But too often families are told no. No support, no program, no beds. And when that happens, families are left to figure it out alone. Today, we're here to listen, understand, and of course, stand with this family. We are honored to be joined by one of our very own. I didn't even know that she was in our studio this morning until I arrived. Brittany Kewington, CWA activist out of Dallas, Texas, District 6. She has been a voice for others for a long time. She was a voice behind the scenes for people before we even knew her name. And now she is fighting for her own son, Parker. And yes, we know Parker here. David and I know Parker. Parker kind of grew up right here in this building. Brittany, thank you for trusting us with your story.
All right, Brittany, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. All right. I thought Reginald had scared you away there for a
Oh,
second.
no.
All right. Thank you so much, Brittany, for coming into the studio today and sharing your story and Parker's story. So let's, before we talk about anything else, will you take just a moment and tell us who Parker is?
Okay. Parker, my baby. I call him my baby because he'll always be mine. But he's a 10-year-old autistic nonverbal, diagnosed with severe autism, speech delay, and he through his struggles has developed a severe brain injury as well. But he everyday life is just the sweetest, happiest kid you could ever know or find. Once you are deemed family, like that is it with him. And I think that's why my union family knows him so well. He'll come in and to the union hall and kick his shoes off and eat everybody's snacks, and watch some TV, and he just doesn't know a stranger, and that's what's so special about him.
Okay, Brittany. And what are some of the things that Parker loves? Like, what makes him smile?
Bubbles. Reading. He loves reading, absolutely loves reading, and any type of music, all genres. He is in love with music.
Oh, it sounds like Parker and I would get along real well, especially once you add those snacks in there. And
Yeah, oh yeah,
so,
and the snacks, yes.
and so what does a good day look like for Parker?
Um, to be completely honest, I haven't seen a what I would consider a good day in quite some time. But a good day would involve a whole lot of peanut butter, him being able to go to school and be around his peers, kids his age, a lot of reading and playing instruments. He actually plays a lot of music by ear. He'll hear a tune and he can play it on the keyboard a few minutes later. So that's what a good day looks like for him, being able to explore and be adventurous.
All right. And can you share what this journey has been like for you and your family since I think it was late 2024? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. December the 2nd of 2024. I will not forget that day because his whole life just changed. All of our lives, that anybody involved with Parker, it changed that day. Because
Hmm.
even though he had been nonverbal, pretty much all his life and autistic and on the severe end of the spectrum, he was still a happy kid. He
Hmm.
still loved going to school. He still loved riding the bus. He still loved being around his siblings. And then that day he got off of the bus from school and everything just flipped. It's like he had no sense of danger. He was engaging in a whole lot of self-harm. And if you try to restrain him these days, the harm turns to the person that's trying to restrain them. Even though I know that's not his intent. But that's just his way of escape. He's just trying to get out of whatever is going on in his head. And it's been like that every single day since December 2nd of 2024.
Mm.
Wow, bless him, Lord. What has it felt like to reach out for help and be turned away? Because I know you've reached out for help with Parker.
Yeah, we in the within the state of Texas have been turned away from about 24 different hospitals or facilities that are deemed fit to treat him. But when you actually get there or you actually talk to them, they're like, "Oh no, he's nonverbal. He has to be able to talk. He can't be in this program, or we can't treat him if he's not able to talk and communicate." And I'm like thinking to myself, like, there's so many people in this state, whether they're a child or not, that don't have verbal communication as a means. So it really scared me more than anything. I hate to say that I wasn't disappointed. I mean, I was a little disappointed, but I also was not. It wasn't a surprise to me. Um, I'm a black woman in America and in Texas, no less, right? So like,
Hmm.
being turned away is not anything that's new to me. But it's just really sad to understand the gravity of not being able to receive that help because I know it's not just me going through it, or it's not just Parker going through it.
Okay, let's
Oh,
let's ground this for our listeners a little bit because I I I have an autistic goddaughter who's also nonverbal, but she's a lot smaller. She's just 3. Well, no, she's 4 now. And you know, well, she lives in North Carolina, and so in North Carolina, she does go to a program, and she has like a speech pathologist and things like that, and they're teaching her sign language to be able to communicate. And so that really does dishearten me that you aren't afforded those same programs in Texas to meet Parker's needs. And you know, that means that you obviously, I guess, would have to kind of look out of state or for something private to find care for your son. And, at the same time, a lot of times there's like a waiting list for assistance that some report to be 13 years long. And 13 years is an eternity to try to get someone help. And families don't have that kind of time. Children don't have that kind of time. Society does, like, no one has 13 years to wait for anything, especially when your child is in crisis. And so, I know you said that you weren't disappointed, you were afraid, you were scared. So it's just really, I'm sorry, just really disheartening for me, and it's like I'm kind of at a loss for words. I couldn't imagine or begin to imagine what it is that you go through. And as a mom, I sympathize with you. Um, and I hate that. And I kind of like, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like it's awful. Go ahead, David.
Right. I was just going to say, you know, what we're hearing here is a parent that's doing everything right and still being denied care, and that tells us that the issue is not effort. You know, the issue is access, and when the access is broken, families are left to carry what systems were built to handle. And when a child is in crisis and help is not available, that's not a personal failure. That's a system failure.
And one of the things that I also I want to raise up because Brittany brought it to my attention when I talked to her, and it is something that we can't ignore. All right, so here I go. I'm finna go down this rabbit hole. So my Kia might hit that mute
Yeah,
button,
let me
but
go instead.
all right. So I want to talk about this big, beautiful bill because there is proposed federal legislation that could impact families like Brittany's. And under the leadership of RFK Jr., there are concerns about shifting toward institutional care. Y'all follow me closely on this now. Shifting to institutional care models and reducing support for in-home care. Now, for families like Brittany's, this is not theoretical. This is personal. This is a personal situation because now you're going back in the days, in the 30s and the 40s, with care for loved ones that is a that is trying to move toward the realm of institutionalization of individuals. So, Brittany, um, I guess we can talk about this just a little bit more. Um, what are your concerns about this bill?
Yeah, not to get on a soapbox about this, but like you said, it is very personal, and I personally am in so many Facebook groups and awesome moms clubs and everything, and even though every child is different, every situation is different, but the support that we need is so it's right there in your face and it's tangible, but it's not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
So under the, Big Beautiful Bill Act, we they would be cutting, well, not would be, they are actively cutting because it was signed in July of 2025, roughly $1 trillion over the next decade. And what that cuts, it would pretty much eliminate non-mandatory services, and in-home care is one of those things that is deemed non-mandatory, because basically if we can shove them inside of a nursing home or an institution, there's no need for in-home care because they're all housed under one building. And like you referred to in the 30s and 40s, we saw how that went. It didn't go
Mm-hmm.
well. It didn't go well at all.
Right.
So I'm not sure why we would like to turn back time. But even if, let's say, we fight the fight and we get the home care services to remain, we still have to deal with the waiting list issue. In
Mm-hmm.
Texas right now, it's 13 years. When Parker signed up, when I got him signed up at the age of 6, it was 15 years. But some people were so tired that they moved out of the state and they pushed that waiting list up from 15 to 13. But
Mm-hmm.
that still means that he would not receive any sort of services until he's 19. So then he's deemed an adult at that point, and then he doesn't qualify for those services. Then we have to put him in another institution that's supposed to help adults with disabilities. And that's not really going so well either. I mean, if you're
Mm-hmm.
relying on the federal government or the state programs, private ones are really great, but can we afford them? So we can't even afford gas right now. There's a state, Colorado is deemed the best for intellectual disability services and care, but they're trying to fill the gap of this one beautiful bill Big Beautiful Bill Act right now, and they don't even have the finances or the budget to support the quality care that they have had in the state.
And I'm sure just like other families, just like you, that have or don't have access in other states, they're looking at this center in Colorado more than likely. Is that correct?
Right, right. And
Okay.
so it's a system that is strained right now since July of
Hmm.
2025, and it's going to be even more so because everybody's going to try to move to Colorado.
Right. Everybody's overwhelmed. They're turning back the hands of time, not only on voting, but also health care and care. And it's stressing everybody out. And I don't want to go too far into this, into that, but um, at this particular time, what does Parker need right now to stay safe?
24-hour care. The state has deemed
Hmm.
him an extreme danger to himself and others. Um, because there was an attempt that he made that very likely could have ended his life if there was not like some extreme intervention. So because that they have deemed him an extreme danger, he has to be enclosed with trained care, not just any care. Like I can't just leave him with my mom, or I can't just leave
Hmm.
him with family members or friends. It has to be trained care 24 hours. But the state doesn't have the funding to support what they have deemed necessary. So I'm having to pay out of pocket for it. And
Yeah,
I'm a
see,
union girly.
that's where I just got confused as soon as you said it. I'm like, so they put a label on it and then said, okay, although we're gonna label it this way, we just can't help you. Like, this is what you need to do. This is what we're saying that he has to have, but we can't provide that.
Yeah,
I'm
on
just
top
making
of
sure I'm
that,
understanding correctly.
yeah, on top of that, not only are they recommending it, I'm required to provide it.
Well,
So
I'm sorry, I beg your pardon.
What now?
I'm required to provide it. So let's just say they catch me or they catch Parker in the streets with my grandma, and there's not an assistant nurse with him. That's when CPS gets involved.
Wow.
Okay,
So,
so Brittany,
But
you're not qualified.
no,
I am
she
his
is.
primary caregiver, but I am not trained. I've taken all the classes, like I've done all the free classes you can do on the World Health Organization. I've been trained in RBA, which is a form of ABA therapy. But that's what I do on my own time. That's not my job, you know. So I'm not certified or qualified to do that, and I don't know how many parents would have that type of time.
Okay, wait, time out. I think we need to unpack this a little bit because I'm confused. So I'm pretty sure the listening audience is confused. So even so, and now when you say 24 hours a day that he has to have someone there, I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly.
Mhm.
So if you are not qualified to have to provide this service to your own child, and they put this label and they deemed him, this risk, and say that you have to have a nurse or someone there, right, to assist. So you mean 24 hours a day around the clock in your own home, someone else needs to be present to care for your son?
Yeah, just I'm not supposed to be with him by myself because I have sustained some very life-threatening injuries. And I have had to take leaves of absence from work. In order to provide the type of life that my son would need, I would need assistance from somebody who is certified and trained to do so.
Now I'm going to go a little bit further. Okay. And so you said that if it is found that that additional person, right, isn't there with you or your son, or is not with, if one of those people that have the certification aren't accompanying your son at all times, they can take your son away from you. And so that's where I'm getting confused because you cannot. So, okay, I'm gonna calm down because this is stressing me out a little bit. So they will not give you access, right, to these things for free. But they would then take your child and then have to provide these things to him anyway if they were to take him because that's what he has to have and that's what the state deemed him. And so that's where I'm extremely confused because that doesn't make any sense to me. If they take your baby from you because you can't provide a service, it is deemed that he has to have the service, which means they would have to provide the service anyway. Am I not connecting the dots?
Well,
No.
here's the reality in the state of Texas. It's gonna be on his record, my record, that we were not abiding by the law. They might not necessarily take him.
So
They're
then
at
what?
capacity.
Are you
They're short
serious?
staffed.
So
But,
Yeah,
but
but
it's
that's gonna be in his record forever.
but is it because of is it the one little, is it the one clause that because of the deemed danger to himself and to others? Is
Right.
this is the underlying piece of that? Is that correct, Brittany?
Correct. And what I want to add to that is that I'm not the only one that's in that situation. It's just I sought out the help. I raised my hand up and I screamed, "Hey, we need help!" And when they investigated, that's what they found. I fear for so many other families who are going through worse than what we are going through, but too afraid to raise their hand and ask for help because they don't want that label on their child.
Right. Wow,
Mm.
that's deep and that's terrible at the same time, Brittany. I am so sorry.
Well,
I'm still confused. I'm just
I,
gonna
I
because it's
and
not
I really
making Justin Bieber voice, like it's not clicking because it doesn't make any sense.
I
And it
actually
doesn't,
think I think I'm actually getting that, and Brittany, of course, could probably sum it all up. And but there's because it, there's no way you can get the whole story in probably a 12-minute segment. That's it. But Brittany probably could sum it up on what to unconfuse you and the listening audience.
To sum it up, me and my son probably gonna have to get out the state as soon as possible. So
Oh,
that's our plan going forward because I don't want to put Parker in any more danger, myself, other people. And I have to find a way to advocate for other people because, like Reggie said, that's just kind of, I've decided that is my calling, whether God gave it to me or not, is to
Mhm.
advocate for those. And if that means we have to go out of the state to get the care that he deserves, that's what we're willing to do. Because I don't think anybody deserves that label and that level of scrutiny without any support whatsoever.
Now, I know we've gone over the allotted
you
time
can
for
go
this segment,
over
but
even further because I'm still
I
confused.
think it is most definitely needed that we continue this conversation. And before we go any further, the first thing that I want to, then we'll go continue on. But Brittany, my question to you this morning, with everything that is going on, and I know that you're an activist. You've been an active behind the scenes. You and I have taken pictures together, have done a whole bunch of stuff with activism. You're very active in the state of Texas. You're very active in CWA. My question to you is, what are you doing for you? Are you taking care of yourself? Because we have to pour back into each other, into other activists, because we can become overwhelmed. We can become weary in our well doing. But if it, and I'll stop right there because I know um, I don't want you to become unweary. I don't want you just to say I'm get to the point in life and just say I'm over this. Whatever happens, just happens. What are you doing for you to keep yourself together?
I'm learning that in real time. A lot of my activism, though well intentioned, I have learned through therapy, is really just to keep myself busy and suppress. I'm a veteran as well, so we're really good at suppressing emotions. So I'll keep myself busy so that I don't have to deal with it. But now I'm having to take a step back. Like I said, I've taken
Mm-hmm.
leaves of absence from work. I'm having to take a step back and actually think about these things and process these things. So therapy is the number one thing. And then I have to go do the basic things. I get my eyes checked. And make sure that I am eating the right foods because like you said, if I don't pour into myself, what do I have to give to my son who needs it
Mm-hmm.
so desperately? You know, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning that in real time and it's a work in progress, but we getting there.
Good, good. And definitely I want you to make sure that you're taking care of you because Parker needs you. And we have to make sure that we're taking care of everything with us, because we would be no good if we're consistently and constantly pouring into other people, pouring into systems to overcome, be the activists who we are, and then we're just totally drained.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's so funny. A lot of members, union members, veteran members that I help organize, like they remind me that on the daily, and it's just so
Mm-hmm.
astonishing to me that they're the ones that are making sure that I keep myself together.
Yes, yes. Now, I'm gonna stick my neck out here and say, if you want to learn more about Parker's journey, I want you to journey over to Brittany Curington's Facebook page, where she has been sharing updates on this journey. So take the time out and go to her page and just follow the journey. And if you're listening right now in our listening audience, or if you're listening to the podcast, which is later, and this story has moved you, I want you to follow that journey that Brittany Curington's and Parker are going through. Go to her Facebook page and encourage her. Sometimes just a word of encouragement and sharing Parker's story will help tremendously. And we also need you to take another step, because this is very important. And I don't know if the team knew this part right here. We need you all in the listening audience to contact your representatives. Tell them to protect funding for in-home care and oppose policies that would force families into institutional systems. This is very important, very important. Let me say it one more time, contact your representatives.
Yeah.
Tell them to protect funding for in-home care and oppose policies that would force families into institutional systems. Come on, Timmy. I think she had something.
Yeah, I'm gonna say y'all better call them. You can email them. You can speak up. Calling don't cost anything. Last time I checked, email was free. Speak up. Families deserve options. Children like Parker deserve care that supports their safety and their dignity. This is what solidarity looks like, when we can come together and we can support our sister. We it's not just a feeling or something, but doing something. We have to do things.
Mm-hmm.
We have to call them. We have to email them. We have to speak up. We can't leave our sister out there fighting by herself.
And community still matters. And I want you guys to get that in your spirit. Community still matters. Coming together, like Timmia just said, not just feeling something, but doing something. Come on, Reginald.
And of course, access to care is definitely a human right. And a person um, like Brittany should not have to be considering, with all that's going on, actually picking up and having to move to put another burden on top of what's going on. So there is definitely something broken in the system that definitely needs attention. And it horrifies me to learn today that we're getting ready to go back into time past 1963, when we figured out that institutions were not good for us, and we went into community-based systems, supposedly for an improvement, and started getting personal care attendants in the home and all that. And now all of a sudden someone comes in with the magic idea, oh, let's open up institutionalized living all over again, which actually lumped people with various different situations and problems under one roof, which was not good. Look at your history, people.
Mm-hmm.
And you're so right, Reggie. And I just want to add this: when systems fail, we must hold them accountable. And as union activists and stewards, that's what we do. We hold companies accountable. We hold each other accountable. We have to hold these systems that fail our people accountable as well.
You're absolutely right about that. We've got to hold, from legislators to systems, we have to hold them responsible, and we also have to take the initiative to write some new legislation to get these things done. And guess what? If and okay, let me digress,
Well, I want to say
because
something. We need to trust science. How about we do that? Right? Like Reginald said, we need to trust what we know, what we've had research on, what we have the numbers on and the data on. And we need to trust that this is the things that they're trying to move us to. It's not that they aren't going to work, it's that they don't work. Like it's already
Mm-hmm.
been proven that these things don't work. And then even on top of that, this is a 10-year-old baby. I know, like, people, he's a baby. And at the end of the day, he needs to be with his mom and with his family and things like that as well. Like, it's not just, he's still a whole entire person. He's a whole entire person, a whole entire individual. He's not just a label. He's not just whatever the state deemed him as. That is a person, that is her baby. And he does not need to be
Mm-hmm.
put into some facility because somebody that, like, you know what? Okay. All I'm gonna say is not the person that's out here drinking milk. Okay.
I got you. I thought I was going to have to mute your microphone. Brittany, we want to thank you for entrusting us with your story and Parker's story. Thank you for coming on to the radio show this morning, and to all of our listeners. Parker is not asking for much. I want to let you guys know that he asked, per Brittany, he wants to just go back to school. He wants to ride the bus. He just wants to be a child. So again, thank you for listening right now. And this story, and if this story has moved you, follow the journey with Brittany on her Facebook page. And let's not just hear this story, let's respond to it. Because when systems fail, we build power and we show up for Parker. Again, thank you so much, Brittany.
Thank you.
You're listening to KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you by visiting kyokradio.org and pressing the Listen Live option. Tune in live every Thursday at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on kyokradio.org, the CWA Strong app, or your preferred podcast player. Search for CWA Hour of Power on your favorite podcast player. Like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at CWA Human Rights to stay connected, share your thoughts, and join the conversation. Up next, we have the Union Buster of the Week. Timmia?
Hey, Errol, this week's Union Buster of the Week goes to the state of Texas for not giving my sister Brittany the path that she needs for her and Parker to live a beautiful life. We also have another Union Buster of the Week, and that goes to the United States Department of Defense for deciding that in the middle of global instability, military conflict, and rising threats abroad, the real problem is union workers. So hear me out, y'all. On Friday, April 17th, executive orders were used to terminate, y'all hear me? Terminate collective bargaining agreements covering workers at Portsmouth Naval Shipyard and beyond. Because when national security is on the line, the logical move is strip protections from the very people keeping the fleet operational. Yeah, so they fired the people that are keeping the fleet operational. Let's talk about who the workers are. They are men and women and siblings union siblings who maintain and repair U.S. Navy nuclear submarines, critical assets in our national defense strategy. These are not abstract roles. These are the people making sure that submarines are safe, functional, and mission ready. And yet somehow the decision was made that these same workers don't need union protections. So let's break that down. You trust them with billion-dollar military equipment, but not with a union contract. You trust them to protect this country, but not to protect themselves at work. You rely on their precision, their skill, and their focus, but remove the very safeguards that allow them to do their jobs effectively. Union leaders are already sounding the alarm. Instability, anxiety, and retention issues are coming. And that's not speculation. That is a reality. When workers lose protections, morale drops. When morale drops, focus drops. When focus drops in a facility responsible for submarine maintenance, national readiness is put at work. Just to make this live, union protection, contract protections, they don't just cover pay, they cover your safety on the job. These people are dealing with nuclear reactors and ships. Safety on the job is important. So in the name of national defense, we've created conditions that weaken it. And let's be clear, this wasn't driven by the shipyard itself. The frustration is coming from the top down because nothing says support the mission like sidelining the workforce behind it. This is union busting dressed up in national security language. You remove the voice, centralize the power, and then call it necessary. But working people see it for what it is. So we're going to congratulate the United States Department of Defense, this week's Union Buster. I'm Timmia Wiley, like the coyote. And if they can't bust the unions, they repair submarines, they'll bust yours too if you let them. And that's the truth. Back to you, Errol.
As we come down to the final minutes of the show, the Communication Workers of America invite you to the 2026 National Human Rights Conference happening August 16th through 19th in Atlanta. Join union leaders and activists from across the country as we come together to build power, advance justice, and fight for workers' rights. This year's conference will be held at the beautiful Western Peachtree Plaza located in the heart of downtown Atlanta. To register, visit cwahumanrights.com. Again, to register, visit cwahumanrights.com. Don't miss this opportunity to connect, learn, and organize for a stronger, more just future. We'll see you in Atlanta. An hour is not long enough to be with you, and a week is too long to be away from you. You have been tuned into the CWA Human Rights Hour Power broadcast. I hope something you heard today has empowered you and inspired you to take action toward creating positive change in the world. Every person has the power to make a difference, no matter how small. And by working together, we can create a world where human rights are respected and valued. So I encourage each of you in the listening audience to reflect on your role in promoting human rights to effect change in your communities and beyond. Know that you are not alone in your quest for a more just and equitable world. When faced with injustice, it can be easy to lose hope and give up. But remember, justice may be slow like the truth, but when it finally comes, it will stand. Until next Thursday, 10 a.m. Central, right here on KYOK 1140 a.m. and the all-new 106.5 FM, KYOKradio.org. See you next week.